Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday meditation gathering. I'm so glad you're all here to share this time together. This week, we have Douglas Crawford, who will lead us in meditation, and then we'll have 20 minutes of silence. And after that, we'll open it up for sharing, and we end at 10:45. Over to you, Douglas.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome. I feel inspired to read a section from not an article, a document made by the Circle of Atonement. Circle of Atonement, for those who don't know, is a Course in Miracles group, quite a big group. They've been around for a while. And as you may have noticed, the theme is the Holy Spirit today. And they did this document comparing how the Circle of Atonement saw the Course in Miracles as compared with Kenneth Wapnick's take on the Course in Miracles. And they're very different. And there's one section about the Holy Spirit, and I will read out 4 different aspects of how we see the Course in Miracles from the Circle's viewpoint and then Kenneth's viewpoint. So, the Circle of Atonement say, the Holy Spirit is an extension of God's being and is therefore a created being like the Christ. Ken, on the other hand, says, we can better understand the Holy Spirit to be the memory of God's perfect love that came with the Son when he fell asleep. In this sense, then, the Holy Spirit is not really a person who was specifically and intentionally created by God. That's point number 1. The second point, from the Circle of Atonement's viewpoint, the Holy Spirit, being a creation of God, is real and eternal. And Ken says on this aspect, the Holy Spirit is an illusion, a symbol that was not created by God, but is merely a projected split-off part of ourself. The third point, the Circle of Atonement says, the Holy Spirit is active. He acts in our minds, teaching, guiding, and healing our minds. And he acts in the world, guiding our decisions, supplying us with needed things, designing our special function, and planning the events of our lives. Kenneth Wapnick says on this point, the Holy Spirit, being only an illusion, cannot act, either in our minds or in the world. The Holy Spirit does not really do anything. His apparent actions are really the product of our minds. What we ask for, we receive, but not from God. It is the power of our minds that give us what our minds request. And then the fourth point, a little bit longer, from the Circle of Atonement's viewpoint, asking the Holy Spirit for guidance is a major emphasis in the Course. As we study the text, we are taught the importance of him guiding our lives. As we practice the workbook, we are trained to quiet our minds and hear his voice. Once we have gained this ability, the manual then urges us to let him make all the decisions for our earthly function as teachers of God. As we ascend up the ladder of development, he increasingly becomes the one in charge of our minds and our lives. Kenneth Wapnick responds on this aspect. Asking the Holy Spirit for specific guidance is extremely helpful and necessary at the bottom rungs of the ladder, where students need to believe in the fairy tale of God helping them in the world. As they move up the ladder, however, this asking becomes counterproductive and becomes an ego defense against the experience of God's love. As they ascend, they increasingly recognize that the Holy Spirit is only a symbol and that God is not present in the dream. So that's the two views on the Holy Spirit. And I share this because I notice there's a lot of confusion around course students about the Holy Spirit and how we seek inner guidance and how we ask for inner guidance. And when they put this document together, I feel they did it in a very mature way, because they're not saying their viewpoint is the only correct viewpoint. They're simply sharing both aspects and allowing us to make up our minds how we would like to see the Holy Spirit. And I'm therefore doing the same. I can say that I tend towards Kenneth Wapnick's viewpoint, but I'm not saying that you should do that either. So I offer this for you, and we can now meditate on this.
Open your eyes slowly and come back into the room. We have 17 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand, or you can use the reactions button at the bottom of the screen, and I'll invite you to take yourself off of mute. If you'd like to ask Douglas a question or a comment with confidentiality, put your message in the chat function at the bottom of the screen, and I'll read it out.
I would just like to quickly say, as a point of clarity, the Circle of Atonement's viewpoint is where they're taking everything in the Course literally, whereas much of what the Course says, Kenneth Wapnick is taking metaphorically. That is the major difference, just to round it off.
Lottie, would you like to share?
Thank you. Yes, when I first heard these words, I thought, well, if the Holy Spirit is an illusion, the best illusion I've got. And then I thought about Bill Thetford. He was asked when two course students had a disagreement over meanings of things in the course, and he was asked for help. He said, "Tell them to tear out the page, nothing's worth arguing over."
Brilliant.
This isn't an argument, but it's a difference of opinion. And part of me wanted to just say, okay, let's not worry about it. It doesn't really matter. But when I was thinking about the Holy Spirit being the best illusion I have, and the certainty I have sometimes about things, because I do feel that it's something other that has spoken to me, it's not come from me. I don't know quite where to go with that, but I'm fully prepared to accept either opinion as a result of that. Thank you.
Brilliant. Yeah, I've heard, I think it was Ken who was saying that both forgiveness and the Holy Spirit are the only illusions that point out of the illusion rather than pointing further into it. Yeah, oops.
Armin, would you like to share?
Thank you. That was really interesting. Thank you so much. When you first started, I was thinking, how can there be differences of opinion on the course? And it was really interesting with each point. You know, I'd listened to the Circle of Atonement, and I was thinking, yeah, that's right. And then you'd say Kenneth's version, and I'd be sitting there saying, yeah, that's right. And especially when you got to point number 3, you know, that really, and I'm thinking, they're both right. They're both right. And then it's like, what difference does it make? As long as you know, and then I started thinking, isn't this how all the different religions started? Because you had one point and there was difference of opinion on how you get to the end result. And does it really matter anyhow? And whichever way works best for you. But I can actually see both of them being right at the exact same time, even though the words were different. I could still feel them. And I wish, you know, I'd love to have that written down so I can read over it again and study it, because it was lovely. I wish I'd written it down, but it was really, it's thought-provoking, you know. But at the end of the day, like you just said, does it really matter how you get there, as long as whatever feels right? It kind of like, that's what inspires you to carry on, doesn't it? That's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. That's brilliant to hear what you say. I had thought to make a photocopy and have it as a file, but now, as you've said, does it really matter? Would you still like me to give a file that can be downloaded for you?
It would only be to study it more in depth, not to sway me either way, because, you know, I thought, who can honestly go against what Kenneth Wapnick said? And then I thought, actually, that sounds so true. You know, the psychoatomic it sounds so right. So again, that's another question. Do I want to study it, or do I do I not want to study it?
Well,
Only from the point that it was intriguing, but not because I really wanted to make a decision out of it, purely for the purpose that it was intriguing. Yeah.
Well, what I'll do is I'll make it available, and then you can choose whether you want to study it further
Okay.
or not.
I'll ask Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The other thing I want to say is my perception of Holy Spirit was the bridge between God and us, and obviously it isn't our physical us that's on that bridge, it's our higher self. So isn't that exactly what point 3 is about? It's our higher self in communication with God. So I have to believe both versions of what is and what isn't on that respect. But yeah, thank you.
Brilliant, Carmen. Thank you very much.
Jim, would you like to share?
Well, I can do, but I think Lottie and Carmen have put it very well.
Okay.
They're both true. I think often when great minds disagree, they're both true. And in the world, the Holy Spirit, as is said, is the memory of God. But of course, when the world ends, so does the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is just as much an illusion as the world is. But while we're in the world, it is the most valuable illusion we've got, as Lottie said. So I don't think I have much to add really to what they said. I mean, it was more of a contemplation than a meditation. Normally I go into these 20 minutes and it's a meditation, but on this occasion it was more of a contemplation, because although I had this memory of basically this is a meditation session, the mind kept contemplating these ideas and took me away actually from that still center. But I could at times be with that still center and still wrestle with these big ideas, which is quite difficult normally for me because I get lost in these big ideas quite easily. But I think, the simple fact is that when there is oneness with God, at those times when there is just God, everything is God, the Holy Spirit is not there. The Holy Spirit comes back for us when we come back into world consciousness, which is how we spend 99% of our time, let's face it. So because it's only there when there is no union with God, it must be an illusion in that sense. But it is a very, very valuable illusion. And in terms of our experience in the world, it is probably the highest truth there is in the world. So I think I'm just repeating what's been said, but anyway, thanks, Douglas.
Thank you, James. Another great teaching. Thank you.
Okay, Norman, would you like to share?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Carmen and James, and of course Douglas and Ken Wapnick. My first impulse was to rush to the defense of the Holy Spirit and the Christ mind in each of us, and the phone went, unfortunately, during it. But when I sat down again, I'd sort of calmed down, and you mentioned it was some form of ego rushing in there, and that confused me as well. But then when I just sat quietly, it's like a mind, it wasn't a voice. The Holy Spirit doesn't need defending, and neither does our Christ mind. And if it means I'm at the bottom of the rung of the first rung of the ladder, I'm very happy where I am. And if Ken Wapnick's happy at the top, that suits me as well. I'm happy where we all are. But thank you anyway. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you, Norman. Yes.
Angela, would you like to share?
Hello. Douglas, you always provoke inquiry.
Oh, good.
And I love inquiry. And I had so many thoughts running through my mind during the meditation and questions, and I've forgotten probably most of them. But of course, Robert Perry isn't the only person or the first organization to try and change everything. It was also the Endeavour Academy, wasn't it, back many years ago, and they wanted to publish a different version as well because they made it more Christian, didn't they? So that is another alternative as well. If you're more Christian minded, you know, a lot of people will go with that. As regards the Holy Spirit being an illusion, anything that we experience here, in my understanding, is anything that we experience here other than this God consciousness is an illusion. And so when we return to God consciousness, Holy Spirit, as you said, Jim, the Holy Spirit won't be there. So it must have been an illusion. But what is an illusion? It's not, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means that my mind has perceived something in a certain way. That is maybe is not the absolute truth where God consciousness lives. So forgiveness is an illusion. And I think, Jim, you said, or who said, that might have been you, Douglas, that forgiveness and Holy Spirit are the only ways to get back to our true selves, our true awareness of God consciousness and nothing else. But the Course itself says, forget this, when you're returning to God, is forget this world, forget this course, and come with holy empty hands unto your God. So you haven't got the circle of atonement or the foundations, books in either of your hands. At that point, I haven't got Christianity, I haven't got Buddhism, got nothing here. It's completely empty. So what I use to get to that point where my hands are empty is, it doesn't matter as long as it gets me there. And doesn't the Course say there are many ways, and a circle of atonement is one of the ways, foundations version is one of the ways. It doesn't really matter. That, what is it, all paths lead to Rome? Hopefully not Rome. I've had enough with Rome actually in my past. But it does say, and I might be paraphrasing, would God have left any of his children without a way to find their way home? No, indeed. So in a way, the more the merrier. All the ways that you can get, the more the merrier, because each one is going to appeal to someone, and that will help them find their way home. So bring on all the variations, and you just go with whichever one you're the most comfortable with and whichever works for you. But it's wonderful, wonderful discussion, Douglas, about that, and wonderful points to hear. So thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Yeah. I love these responses. Thank you. You can see someone sitting next to me. This is Solvay. Solvay is staying with me, and she's been working with the Course for, I don't know, 6-7 years or something. Yeah.
Would like to share? Teresa.
Thank you, Douglas. And also, I'm loving everybody's sharing, and I'm feeling a bit guilty because I pop up a heart for this one and I haven't popped up a heart for everybody, but everybody's sharing is absolutely wonderful and I'm getting a lot from it. And, you know, we've just read Holy Spirit, the theme of Holy Spirit recently, and I loved where Holy Spirit was given to us like a gift. This is another, and that's what he said just recently in the Blue Book, given us as a gift to come to be across this bridge, so we can take anything over, any of our thoughts over, and Holy Spirit will let us see with Christ vision. That's the way I've interpreted it anyway. I love the way the Course speaks to each of us individually, you know, as we understand at that time. And I love the ladder, you know, the ask away for everything. And then at the top, it's just gratitude and communion. And, you know, sometimes I'm closer to the top, but not often. I'm often down, you know, in all my thoughts. And what I felt during the meditation, I was a bit disturbed because we're having a changeover of Wi-Fi today, so I was a little bit disturbed already, and then I got disturbed about other things going on in my head. I can't remember what they were now, but I just thought, wow, I could just have this real center of stillness and peace and light, and all the thoughts can continue. They can continue going around really crazy, but I can still have the center. So that was actually a really nice, a nice thought, and I could forgive everything else. I could forgive anxiety, and I could forgive the fear. Anyway, so thank you for listening.
Thank you, Teresa.
Who'd like to share? I'll jump in. Douglas, thank you so much for bringing this topic up. It's such a key topic to the course. And I mean, I think forgiveness and the Holy Spirit are the two things that are so valuable to practice. And for me, Holy Spirit is my best friend. So he or she is always with me, and always guiding me. I just need to step back and listen and receive guidance. And every morning I go to Holy Spirit and I say, Holy Spirit, what would you have me know today? And I just write whatever comes up, and I get just what I need for that day to give me a happy, peaceful day. And then when I slip back into the ego and the fear and stress and anxiety and judgments, and I'm learning to step back and give it to Holy Spirit. Say, how would you have me see this? What would you have me know? And I receive something which helps bring me back to my right mind again. So I'm very happy to have Holy Spirit with me all through the day. But I'm done. And we come to the top of the hour. Whoa, that was so quickly. Thank you so much for all this beautiful sharing. And Douglas, thank you so much for leading us today. It's wonderful. And take yourself off of mute.
Just before you go, Dan, I will, if I send you the file of this photocopy of this, are you able to distribute it to everyone here? Is that the way you do it?
Oh, if you send it to me, Douglas,
okay.
And then if anybody wants, just email me, admin@miracles.org.
Yeah. Great.
.uk.
And once again, I'd like to say how great it is to be with such a mature group of course students. The responses show how deeply you have been doing this work. So thank you. That's an honor.
Oh, it's lovely.
You show your appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Douglas.